In this episode of the GolfTrips.com podcast, we are going to discuss golf in Wisconsin. Recently, a list came out with the top 40 golf courses in the Badger State, and there is a lot of discussion and debate on what golf courses are rated too high, what golf courses are rated too low, and what courses missed the list altogether. We would like to join that debate. We welcome your feedback, but we're going to bring in Jason Kauflin, a golf tour operator that lives in the state of Wisconsin and brings golfers and traveling golfers into the state. He's got some great feedback on this list, and he can also share what his golfers are talking about as well. Let's set the record straight. Welcome to the podcast, Jason Kauflin. This blew up the internet, this list. And Jason is my guest. He runs Wisconsin Golf Trips. Jason, welcome back to the show. Why don't you just give our listeners a little bit of background of your company and what you do?
Sure, Brian. Thanks for having me. Wisconsin Golf Trips has been around about 10 years. I've been the main inbound operator here into Wisconsin as our destination has blown up and become a world destination. I've worked with groups from all over the world to come and experience what we have in Wisconsin. So I have a lot of feedback to share. And again, that list caught my eye. I don't know of two other people out there that have more knowledge of where Wisconsin fits into the world of golf when it comes to travel than you and I.
Sure. Let's pull up this list. The list was done by top100golfcourses.com. It is here is the list right here. They came out with the top 40. But let's just talk a little bit about the angle that we're going to talk about this list. And let's just talk a little bit about biases generally in lists. The first thing, when a list comes out, I think, our viewers need to know that there is bias in these lists. Sometimes it's advertising dollars spent. I mean, just about every publication takes advertising dollars from these courses. And in some cases, when a panelist reviews, it's how well they played. If they had a miserable round or if it was raining or they didn't play very well, it can negatively impact a golf course. So from my vantage point, I try to, be as unbiased as possible. Many of these Wisconsin courses are advertisers or clients of mine, so I'm going to walk lightly where I need to and explain bias if I have it. But Jason, when you chat with golfers and a golfer calls in and says, hey, what are the must-play courses, or how would you rank this? How do you look at a list, or how do you rank these courses?
Well, it certainly is something you can take in multiple directions, Brian. And I to give you an example, I spoke to a very good friend of mine over the weekend about a trip I recently took to the Dominican Republic. And the number one question he asked me about the golf courses was, what were the green speeds like? And I looked at him like he was insane. I just said to myself, what do you care? Like you're going to the Dominican. Are you really sitting there worried about if it's a 9 or a 12 on the stimp meter? And his answer was yes, which is so far off my list of what I would care about when traveling with my buddies to go play golf. But it was an eye opener to say, okay, well, there are obviously anybody listening to this, there are priorities for many people, and that are varied. So it's not something that you and I, we're not sitting here saying that our ideas are the blueprint for what you should be doing. This is just based on feedback that I've gotten from hundreds of golfers and from the personal experience that you and I have, because we have traveled a bunch the last 8 or 10 years. We've seen other top end courses around the world. And I don't want to speak for you, Brian Weis, but I am going to say that we have both appreciated more what Wisconsin is as you travel around the world and see other top 100 courses in the work.
Sure. From my vantage point, it's kind of hard. It's a mix of things. Like I don't have we took a look before we went live on what their criteria was, and it was architect was number one. If it's a big name architect, it's going to be higher. They talked about playability, and some of these things are very abstract. They didn't call it conditioning of golf course. Jason, I don't know if you remember what terminology they used, but
number three, Brian. Number three was variety of play and presentation. And number four was consistency, which again, you could extrapolate into whatever you want. And then number five, the one that really got us, was golf course and land management. So I don't think most traveling golfers really care about how they use the land. They just care about how it actually feels when you play it. Now, that is not everybody, but that's most of people that I would think of.
Okay. So we're going to set the ground rules for here. I'm going to come from two different angles. The first with being the GolfTrips.com hat on is, what are the courses that you would play if you were going to come to Wisconsin, maybe as a traveling golfer, 3 trips over the next 10 years? Like, what courses do we need to play? And then some point, I am located in the Metro Milwaukee area. I'm going to take off my traveling golfer hat and just talk about maybe as a local golfer, because I have a feeling some people are going to kind of chime in with that. So let's rip the Band-Aid off and talk about their number one golf course in the state. And I saw some comments on the Facebook group when it was talked that a golfer had played golf for 30 years and never heard of the Lido. This is a new golf course that came into the profile, or the portfolio rather, of Sand Valley. It's kind of unique that it's a semi-private golf course. And Jason, I guess we can talk a little bit about the history. That it was a course on Long Island, was labeled at one point the number one golf course in the country. It was a CB McDonald design golf course. World War II basically killed the golf course, as it was used for an airstrip, I believe. The course got rebirthed in Wisconsin. I had an opportunity to play with Peter Flory in a Hickory golf event. He was a golf historian, just a golf nerd, and kind of put pictures together, married his photos up with the LiDAR data, and a guy that does simulator golf courses, and they basically pieced this course together. I don't know if they sold the idea or brought the idea to Sand Valley, and Tom Doak, Sand Valley, and their group, rebuilt this golf course in there. Is it deserving of the number one ranking, Jason?
No. It's an amazing feat. It is absolutely amazing. It is. The more you learn, the more you and I have learned about the creation of the golf course and the history of the golf course. It is unbelievable, the effort they went into to replicate that golf course. It's a marvel. It's a marvel. Is it the best course to play in Wisconsin if you come here? No, not at all. It's wonderful. That's the thing to keep in mind, Brian. The beauty and the thing that I wear on my sleeve everywhere I go when I talk about how great Wisconsin is we could argue about this stuff all the way home. You will argue, if your group comes to Sand Valley and spends a few days at Sand Valley and plays all 4 of the courses they currently have at Sand Valley plus the par 3, you will argue as to which was your favorite golf course, you and your buddies. If you come and do the big picture, the big 3, I call it, of Wisconsin, the Kohler properties with Whistling Straits and Black Wolf Run and Erin Hills and the Sand Valley courses, I would guess out of 12 people, you'll have 8 people coming up with their different favorite course. And that is what makes a destination so impressive. So again, this is my opinion and mine alone. The things that I personally rank golf courses on, the Straits at Whistling Straits is a way better golf course. So I'm offended that the Lido would be put ahead of the Straits on that list. That's me personally. And the other one that's absurd is Erin Hills.
Sure.
Anybody that thinks that the 4 courses at Sand Valley are better than Erin Hills needs to get out more. They need to travel around and understand a little bit more about what makes golf fun, in my opinion. I would venture that if your biggest excitement in the world of traveling is you like to be at one place and play 3 or 4 different courses and stay for a few nights, then yes, Erin Hills stinks for you. It's 18 holes and it's basically a 24 to 36 hour facility. That being said, it might be the best 24 hours you can spend on a golf course in your life in the world. So Erin Hills should be much higher on this list. I'm offended it's not.
Sure. So let me just give a little insight on the Lido and how you can play it. From a list standpoint, I'm grabbing a different list, different set of panelists. It's golf.com. I believe that's part of the Sports Illustrated portfolio. They have the Lido rated. They just came out with the 2024-2025 top 100 golf courses you can play. And the Lido is rated 4th. I know there was another list of top courses in the world, and the Lido was in the top 50. I agree with you. It is an amazing marvel. And for those that knew of the mystique of the Lido that was originally in Long Island, it is crazy that they rebuilt the golf course there. And I enjoyed playing the golf course. Do I have it ahead of Whistling Straits? Probably not, but that's, the fun thing about these opinions. Real quickly, Jason, how can golfers play the Lido? My understanding is it is not a public golf course. It is a private course at Sand Valley. If you stay there, and I don't know what the requirements are, you have the ability to play the golf course if you're staying there. But if you wanted to make a phone call, you're a local golfer, maybe someone from Chicago just going to come up for the day, I don't think you have access to the golf course. Can you?
You do not.
Elaborate?
You do not. Yes. In that description, it is not a public golf course. Correct. Yeah. But if you are staying on property and you find your way to get a room, whether it's 2 years in advance or, get lucky and find a room somewhere, you will gain access to the tee sheet. Presently, they're only allowing you to play Sunday afternoon through Thursday morning, Thursday midday. All those other times on the weekends are reserved for members. And they've also have a very limited window. It's, I believe, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the general plan for getting public tee times offered on those days. The other hurdle that I have run into is they will only allow a group even booking a year and a half in advance to only book one round on the Lido based on the difficulty and availability of the tee time. So groups that's been an ask I've had quite frequently. Hey, if we're going to come all that way, if it's that good, we want to play it twice. No, can't do it. So
Sure.
That's definitely a hurdle groups have to overcome.
Sure. Well, as a Wisconsinite, I am proud that we have a course in the top 5 in the United States and in the top 50 in the world. The Lido, whether it's deserving or not, I think it's like you said, I think you summed it up the best. It's an incredible feat that they redid it. I think if you're a traveling golfer and you're a golf nerd that wants to brag where you're going to play, you're going to see this course on the list. Just plan on staying a few days at Sand Valley so you can play all the wonderful courses that are on this list a little bit further down and add Lido to your bucket list. So number 2, this goes without any introduction needed. Whistling Straits on Lake Michigan, part of the Kohler, Destination Kohler properties, site of 2 PGAs and the recent, one of the more recent
3
Ryder
PGAs,
Cups.
Three PGAs and a Ryder Cup.
3 PGAs. See, that's why I have, I really needed to write notes and not do this on my 52-year-old memory here. So I would put this as, one of the greatest gems. And Jason, you and I played and traveled throughout Scotland and, seeing some of the courses that are true link style golf courses and see what they recreated along the lake just makes it and puts an exclamation point that this course is deserving. It is top 10. It's 10th on the golf.com 2024 list. It is definitely deserving of a top ranking in the United States.
I would go back to the architecture element of the top 100 golfers list that they put together, and I think that even though it's a Pete Dye design, I think that Whistling Straits gets a little bit. The Straits course gets bashed just a little bit because it was a flat airstrip. And this is an argument you and I, or a discussion you and I have frequently, Brian. What's more impressive for golf course architecture? Is it taking a piece of property more like a Core Crenshaw does and try to touch as little as you can, very much like they did at Erin Hills, which again, they didn't move much dirt to build that golf course? Or is it taking a flat piece of land and creating what Pete Dye did at Whistling Straits? I could argue both ways, but there are things you cannot argue about with the Straits course. The payoff at the Straits is as consistent as any golf course on the world. No one walks off of that course and doesn't get it. No one walks off of that course and thinks, yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand what all the fuss is about. It's a world-class monster of a golf course.
Yeah, it is absolutely phenomenal. We're going to jump ahead on this list. We're going to spend just a little time on some of the private courses. We'll talk a little bit about it if you have access as a packager. I know Milwaukee Country Club is kind of the Augusta of Wisconsin. You better be a member, know a member if you want to play. They are not overly travel golfer friendly. Is it, some of the most amazing golf holes in the state are along the Milwaukee River on the back nine. I think it's deserving from the prestige factor of being on this list. From a traveling golfer standpoint, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it. Have you played the course, Jason?
I have. I've played it a couple times. Yeah,
okay.
It's a solid golf course, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, this one we're going to spend a little time with because we've spent a lot of time arm wrestling on Lawsonia Links. Rated number 4 ahead of the Sand Valley courses, except the Lido, the Black Wolf Run. Where do you put it in the Wisconsin landscape, Jason?
I think that it probably falls into that 7 to 10 range on the golf courses in Wisconsin. I don't. Oh, he's got his Langford Moreau hat on, everybody. And Brian and I both are Langford and Moreau fans, and there are parts of Lawsonia that I think are absolutely spectacular. There are other parts that I think are very average. And so for me to have it this high on the list is probably very, very high. Again, obviously it's ahead of Erin Hills, which is a joke. But it's a course that many people that don't know this golf course, many locals consider it their favorite golf course in Wisconsin. So there is a lot going on at Lawsonia. I'm one of the few people that thinks the Woodlands course at Lawsonia is just about as good. So I think as a day of 36 holes, it's about as good as it gets, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little high for this kind of list.
Yeah, and I'm going to a different list, different set of panelists. Lawsonia was rated 16th in the most recent golf.com top courses you can play, public golf courses, rated 16th. It is ahead of Erin Hills, Sand Valley in their list as well. What's unique about Lawsonia, it is kind of, if you're driving you're going to tackle Wisconsin as a golf package, and you know this as well as anybody, Jason, and you send golfers this way. But if you're at Erin Hills, maybe start off in Milwaukee, and you're going to drive up and over to Sand Valley or come along the lake to the Kohler properties, Lawsonia is a good course to play. During that trek from moving one location to the next. They do have lodging on site. They are homes. Best of my knowledge, they have 3 or 4 homes on property. I've done an interview with them. I'll put a link to that. And they do have 2 golf courses. So if you're doing a smaller trip or staying a little bit closer to Metro Milwaukee, or don't want to tackle all the number, you want to do something different, Lawsonia Links should be added to your bucket list.
And keep in mind, going from Sand Valley to Kohler, your GPS a lot of times will have you run right through Green Lake along 23 there. So again, it's for those that don't know the geography, if you put a pin where Erin Hills, Whistling Straits, and Sand Valley is, Lawsonia in many ways fits right in the middle. So it's kind of out of the way for all going between them, but it's also kind of on the way in between all 3 of them. So it's a good fit. It's a good fit in the mix.
And I told you I was going to talk a little bit about my bias. I'm a member at West Bend Country Club, rocking the logo here. It's a Langford Moreau design course. The Langford Moreau Society is launching. I'm going to be an ambassador to that. So I'm going to clearly show my bias there. Is it the fourth best? I mean, certainly it's in the discussion of, top 7, top 6 in Wisconsin. I could rank it ahead of the Lido if needed. Where these all shake out is I don't need to move them 1 or 2 ticks or not, but I think it's in the discussion. Langford Moreau, for those that don't know, in 1 or 2 sentences, they were the Pete Dyes, the sultans of the steam shovel in the 20s that built outlandish and unique golf courses, elevated greens, lots of undulations in the greens. And recently, within the last 7-8 years, Lawsonia took out all the trees on the back 9. I've played with golfers that just don't get it. They're like,
Correct.
holy cow, they took all the trees out. It's called Lawsonia Links. Jason, you and I have played a dozen or so links courses in Scotland. There aren't any trees there, so they brought it back to what a link style should be. Link styles also should be along an ocean, which it's not. But from a links style golf course, I think they captured it by removing the trees. So, hey, let's move on to 5 and 6 are both properties at Sand Valley. Actually 5, 6, and 7. And like you said, Jason, if you have a group of 8 guys and you're driving home and you played all the courses on there, there's going to be lots of argument, whether Sand Valley, Sedge Valley, Mammoth, or the Lido, if you have the luxury of playing that, of which one's their favorite.
I've got into this argument with many people in the golf industry. I have found that the better you are at golf, the more you're inclined to like a couple of courses. The more high handicap you are, the more you're inclined to like the other kind of courses up there. Again, the difference between, Brian, you and I are not golf course architecture experts. We don't study these things. We don't know every inch of every designer, but we definitely know the basics and have to talk about it a lot. So for those that don't really know what I mean by this, there's a big difference between a Tom Doak, Core Crenshaw, and David McClay Kidd course, just in general. And those are the 3 designers of the 3 courses you're looking at on this list. Basically, I believe in my heart of hearts that Mammoth Dunes might be the most fun golf course on the entire planet. Why do I say that? The first fairway is 130 yards wide. It's almost impossible to lose a ball. The greens are so big you could close your eyes and miss your shot by 40 yards and probably catch a piece of the green. Some people, purists, don't get it. Just like you said about Lawsonia, they don't get it. I have groups that go up there and see that first fairway and are looking for the edges of the fairway like they have at their own home course, and it just doesn't seem like real golf to them. Okay, I respect that. It's fun as could be. I'm sorry to tell you, you and I play a lot of different kinds of shots being hickory golfers. Mammoth Dunes, almost every hole, you can play a variety of shots to get the ball close. To me, that's very fun about golf. Other people think it's hokey. So, no, I think that my personal rankings, Mammoth is number 1 at Sand Valley. So on this list, it's number 4. Again, we can argue about it all day.
Sure. On my list, I agree with you. Mammoth Dunes. I think it's really if you wanted to have fun, Mammoth Dunes is it. If you wanted to buy a shirt, well, Mammoth Dunes logo is amazing. You're buying the Sand Valley.
It's the best. Come on, it's the best logo. Come on.
It is. Sedge Valley. I think a lot of people are going to fall in love with this golf course because it's and you don't want to burst their bubble, but it's a par 67, so it's 5
par 68. Par 68.
Par 68. Thank you. 4 shots, less than the other courses. You're going to have a lot of guys, having their career rounds for the year there, or, first time breaking 80. There's numerous drivable par 4s. Each one of the courses are different, although, it has sand in the name. And you're going to have an amazing experience there. And let's just talk about Sand Valley real quick. Sand Valley, it feels like you're in Pinehurst. It is nothing in the state of Wisconsin resembles Sand Valley. I've seen natural cactuses grow. Granted, they're small in that microclimate, or that micro region, if you will. And the rumor is it's a prehistoric lake bed. There is stories upon stories, depth of sand. So these are not going to be the only 4 or 5 golf courses being built there. They're going to keep building them. And I think what's not on this list that I think is absolutely a treat to play is the Sandbox, the par 3
Oh
course.
my gosh.
Yeah,
I could argue it's the most fun golf course there for sure. And again, from a design standpoint, it might be the coolest little par 3 that's ever been designed. I'd probably put only the par 3 at Bandon Dunes ahead of it in my personal rankings of par 3 courses.
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
Preserve. I would agree, and you probably can make an argument that the Sandbox. I mean, it feels like you're playing a big boy golf. There's 1 or 2 holes you can tee off with a putter, but other than that, they're big boy par 3 holes. So, all right, let's round out the top 10 here. Blue Mountain's a private golf course, and the traveling golfer may not have access to this, but let's just talk about Erin Hills. I know we talked a little about Erin Hills and the other golf courses at Kohler, which is Black Wolf Run.
Yeah. So for people, to give you the quick rundown, if people don't know how they work, again, Destination Kohler comprises the 2 courses at Black Wolf Run, the River Course and the Meadow Valleys course, and the 2 courses at Whistling Straits, technically the Straits course and the Irish course. So most of what I do for groups is how to combine a package in Kohler, either playing 3 or all 4 of those courses and possibly some replay rounds into how many days and nights you want to do in Wisconsin. So most people's first trip to Wisconsin involves, we got to play the Straits because it's the most famous. It had the Ryder Cup. And to do that, you're usually going to be forced into a package in Kohler that it requires you to stay on property and play most of the golf courses there, if not all of them. But really, that's what most groups are looking to do. So combining that 3 or 4 days with a day at Erin Hills is probably the most common thing that we do as a company. And then when people bring up Sand Valley, because of the difficulty in getting that booked and having to prepare more a year and a half in advance, I think Sand Valley is a good area to hold off on and maybe let mature a little bit and do your whole trip up there down the road.
Sure. I would put Erin Hills a little bit higher on this list. We talked a little bit off podcast here that, there's only 5 golf courses that held the U.S. Open that are public. If I can name them all: Erin Hills, Chambers Bay, Torrey Pines, Pebble Beach, and the course in New York. Bethpage Black. I just crossed off Pebble Beach, so I've played all 5. I'm going to take Pebble Beach off the list and say I think Erin Hills is the second best of those venues. So if you're going to buy a shirt or buy a logo or brag to your friends of the courses you played in Wisconsin, it's going to be Whistling Straits and Erin Hills. So from a traveling golfer, those are the 2 you're buying shirts or you're bragging to your friends that you played.
And let's look at the logistics of it. The beauty of Erin Hills is there's no requirement to stay on property. You don't need to stay on property or do anything special to get a tee time. You can pretty much call and get one. If you can get lucky enough or choose to stay on property for that night or 2, it's, like I said, an unbelievable experience. You feel like you own the place while you're there because there's only 37 total beds on property. So if you have a group of 8 or 12, you literally feel like you've taken the place over for the time you're on property, which is very special. So no, it's I think the Black Wolf Run courses, the only story I tell about Black Wolf Run is that people think that the river course is where they've hosted the big tournaments up there because it's so highly ranked, and that is not the case. So people should know that the original 18 holes that Mr. Dye built for Mr. Kohler, when they decided to turn it into a multi-course facility, they took 9 holes from each and made, added 9 for the river and added 9 for the Meadow Valley. So again, that original layout that Mr. Dye created, there are remnants of it, 9 holes each on both courses. So it's maybe just that the river, I think the 9 holes they added for the river are just that much better than the 9 holes that were added for the Meadow Valleys, and that's why it's so much higher ranked.
Sure. And on property, I think one of the more underrated courses, it's rated 11th on this list, but is the Irish course. From a uniqueness standpoint from holes, I think there are some more Pete Dye-esque holes
Mm-hmm.
on the Irish course, and there is the Straits course. The Straits course has, I think, 17 of the 18 holes you have views of the lake, or maybe it's 18 of the 18, which is just, an absolute, it's magnificent. But the Irish course, if you're headed up to Whistling Straits or to the Whistling, you should not play this golf course.
I can argue that it has all the best elements of the other three courses in Kohler all in one. It has the views, it has the playability, it has the variety, it has the dive feel to it. So I think if you asked a lot of people what course out of the four, if you and I were given the choice, you can play any of the four today, a lot of people would choose the Irish course just based on the fact that it's more friendly, it's more forgiving, it's more playable. It feels more like a real course than the Straits does, because the Straits is a world-class test. It is a demanding golf course that can get you in a lot of trouble.
Sure. Let's keep moving down this list, Jason. Pine Hills is a private course just outside of the Kohler property. The traveling golfer may have some access to that. It is. I think it's a fantastic golf course. As I scroll down here, number 14 is West Bend, where I'm a member. So, I would definitely flip flop these courses,
Right.
But that's because I'm just going to show my bias. But let's go to LaBelle, which is a recently renovated golf course near Metro Milwaukee. I think within a 20-minute drive, approximately, from Erin Hills. Are you seeing traveling golfers, or are you booking golfers to play Erin Hills and LaBelle if they want to stick around Milwaukee?
Oh, absolutely. LaBelle has done a very good job of nudging into the mix for the high-end golfer. It's at a good price point compared to the other courses. It's got a lot of similarities to some of the courses. Again, Oliphant Companies, which is a big name around here for golf course design and renovation, that's had their fingers and handprints on Sand Valley and many other courses, did the redesign at Loch LaBelle. So there are a lot of elements that make you feel like you're at Sand Valley or Lawsonia or Sentry World. So it's a very, very cool place. Again, going back to land management and taking an old property that was kind of old and dusty and cleaning it up and adding a few holes in a different spot.
It wasn't dusty, Jason. It was swampy.
It was swampy. Correct. That's a good word to use. But they did a great job of, the reimagination of a property is something to behold. And they did an excellent job with that part of it. I'm looking down your list and getting to one that's going to be a big topic of our conversation, which is Sentry World. So in my world,
Jason, I'm going to cut you off and just do a quick plug on West Bend Country Club. So West Bend, just outside of southeastern Wisconsin, just outside of Milwaukee. If you're a Langford and Moreau snob, or you're going to join the society, or want to play something similar to Lawsonia, you're going to stick around the Metro Milwaukee area, they are golfer traveler friendly, and you can contact Jason to get tee times there. It was rated in the top 5, I think 3 of the last 4 years, top 5 private country club. The first 9, or the original 9, is the only one designed by Langford Moreau. They spent a lot of time redesigning the back to give it a feel for that. But if you're not trying to cross off all the public courses and you try to stick maybe geographically around Milwaukee, it's an excellent private club experience that you have access to. And now I can't agree with you more on the discussion that we're about to have with Sentry World.
Yeah, it's in my world. On another list, on the Golf Digest Top 100 list, there are 10 courses in Wisconsin. We have the most of any state on that list. So you have the big ones. You have the 4 in Kohler. You have the Sand Valley and Mammoth Dunes at Sand Valley, which I'm sure Lido and Sedge Valley will push on that list. And then you have number 7 is Erin Hills. There are 3 other courses. They are Sentry World, Lawsonia, and the Bowl at Pinehurst Farms, which we'll talk about as well. But Sentry World is one of the most unique courses anywhere. It might be the best flat parkland course I've ever played. So again, the thing that sticks out to me the most about Sentry World, there's 2 things. One's the quality. It might be the most well-maintained golf course in the entire state. And as we're sitting here talking about the list, people might be shocked to hear that. Well, that's why it's such a cool place to go. And number 2 is just how, again, the variety that it offers to the golfer. the fact that it's only 40 minutes away from Sand Valley, Brian, you could blindfold someone and put a gun to their head after playing both courses and say, were you in the same state? And they would say no matter what was being said to them. Like, there's no chance you would think it was in the same state, let alone within an hour of each other. It's that different of a feel. And it's absolutely one of the most beautiful courses anywhere. So it's, I don't know if I can argue about it where it falls on the list. I think it should be up higher in the mix, especially with the other courses at Sand Valley. But everybody, again, it's an easy add-on, especially now that they have the Inn at Sentry World, another great little boutique hotel. It's become a very popular option for me, recommending to groups coming through that area.
Yeah. Sentry World, for those that don't know, before the Kohler properties, I think Sentry World was billed as the original golf destination course in the state of Wisconsin. It was, I think the first course that, and the flower hole by itself is the reason to play. And for those that don't know, and I can't remember the number, if it's 10,000 flowers planted around the par 3, but it might be the most magnificent golf hole and most iconic golf hole in Wisconsin. I thought 18 at Erin Hills was not on water. I think it's the flower hole at Sentry World. I agree with the boutique and lodging there. It becomes, a golf destination in itself, and being so close to Sand Valley and having, the one thing I don't like about traveling golfing is you go to a region, you go to an area, and you play, maybe a long weekend or 4 or 5 days of golf. And after you come home and digest it over a week, and you can't remember what hole was at what golf course because it was all the same. Yeah. And what's unique about the top 15 that we talked, and, the 10 or so that we've talked that are public or resort courses, Erin Hills to Lawsonia to Sentry World to the Sand Valley courses, they are so unique and memorable that it'll be a golf vacation that you can talk highly. And yes, some of the holes will probably be blurred together based on the quantity of alcohol you drink. But if you stay sober, you're going to remember every one of the courses vividly.
I truly believe in my heart of hearts that if you gave me 7 days of decent weather, that our product for a 7-day trip does compete with any destination in the world. And people that don't know Wisconsin think that's a very cocky thing for a Wisconsinite to say. I know it in my heart of hearts. The more I've traveled the world to play golf, it's very, very challenging to compete with our level of variety in this state. There's no question in my mind.
That's true. So 16, 17, 18, and 19, Black Wolf Run, Middle Valleys, we kind of touched upon that. University Ridge, my alma mater, University of Wisconsin course was the site of the AmFam Championship up until recently, or this year, or this coming year, 2025, where they'll have it at TPC Wisconsin. But are you getting calls, Jason, for golfers to come into the Madison area?
Not a ton. Madison's tough. There's some decent private courses. That's probably what Madison's more well known for, or the private clubs in the Madison area. Brian, every time I've ever played University Ridge, the facility, the conditions, the variety. I think if you cut that course out and dropped it into Illinois or Iowa or Indiana, it'd be the top 2 or 3 courses in the state. Like, it's that good of a golf course. So it just hurts a little bit on just location. If, again, it's not an easy drive from anywhere else to go over there for a day trip. So, but I've done groups there, and nobody's ever walked away disappointed. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. If you're a Big Ten fan, or if you're a Badger fan, it has the best pro shop, the most, besides the University Bookstore, I think it's got the most Badger paraphernalia. So if you're a Badger fan, it is a must play. If you are a Big Ten fan and maybe root for one of the other, Michigan schools or Minnesota schools, to have access to a Big Ten golf course that everyone can play is good. I think it's University of Michigan, Alistair McKenzie course. I think you have to be a student or faculty to play it. the accessibility for a university course makes that course pretty cool. Jason, this next one, I got a couple funny stories about it. The bowl at Piners Farms, it's on the doorstep of Kohler. The only one who probably will not acknowledge that will be anybody at Kohler. But it is one of the toughest golf courses in the state. And it's one of my, I have a love-hate relationship because I never score well there because it's so hard.
I don't know if anybody has. It is a firm demand of golf. It's shocking to say this. It's almost like a hard river course, which I consider the river course to be probably the second hardest course in the state. But I'll have to bring a word in that we haven't really talked much, Brian, when it comes to the bowl, and that's value. As the traveling golfer, I'm sure has noticed, if you've gotten to this point in this podcast, you probably like to travel to play golf, or you've probably turned this off already. If you like to travel and play golf, you probably have to pay a little bit of attention to what golf courses cost. It's the word that I often use is payoff versus value. Does a course pay off? Yes, the Straits pays off. Erin Hills pays off. The Sand Valley pays off. But they're not cheap golf courses, So the bowl to me is, I'd call it poor man's Black Wolf Run, because it's about a third of the cost and you get pretty much the same experience in many ways at the bowl. So the problem for me with the bowl is only logistics. It's the fact that because Kohler has their requirements now to get on the Straits course, which usually involves, let's call it 3 days minimum in Kohler, that getting the bowl squeezed in, if you're going to try to go to other places, becomes challenging as far as just time on earth, So, but anybody that is lucky enough to get to the bowl, I think you and I, if we were paying out of pocket and we're said, here are the 4 courses at Kohler and the bowl, we'd probably be pretty hard pressed not to choose the bowl, just with all the factors involved.
Yeah, and the bowl has made appearances on top lists in the state, has made appearances in top lists in the country from a value standpoint, from not a resort. I mean, this is one of the first courses we're talking about that, doesn't have lodging on property. It is, from a value standpoint, unbelievable. A great course, deserving of the top ranking, whether it's 18th or 16th. I'm going to remove myself from that discussion, but one that if you are in the state of Wisconsin, is a course you should play. If you're a traveling golfer, you should add it to one of your itineraries if you're coming to Wisconsin numerous times. So
I'll throw it out there that I do where I book it the most are for groups that don't want to spend the few $1,000s it takes to do these bigger packages. Then if they're looking for a Milwaukee area package where they don't want to spend that kind of money, doing the courses between Milwaukee and Sheboygan, with the bowl being one of the top courses on that list, along with the bog in Saukville, that can create a very good, solid golf package for many people that doesn't break the bank.
Sure. This next course, number 19th, Troy Burn. For the Wisconsin traveling golfer, it is more of a Minneapolis, Minnesota golf destination. I mean, so it is deserving of the top courses. It used to be a top 5, top 10 course in the state. It is designed by the same course designers, Hertzen and Fry, that Erin Hills was developed by. I played it last year for the second time. Northwoods golf at its finest, but you really need to lump this with a Minnesota or a Minneapolis trip. I mean, you're not going to drive 4 hours out of your way both directions to marry this course up. Deserving of the ranking, but hard to marry it up with any of the other golf courses we've already talked about.
Correct.
Yeah. The next two are private courses. I think if you're coming in, they're both in the Green Bay area. If you're coming up, maybe for a Packer game, these are courses you'll want to get on. I don't know if Thornberry Creek is on this list. They were. I think it's, if you're coming up to Green Bay or traveling to Green Bay, whether it's a Packer game or just to visit the city, any one of the 3 courses, Thornberry, where they used to have the LPGA day event, or if you have access to a private club through maybe your pro, if you're a member of another club, to make a call. Green Bay, Oneida, certainly great courses, but from a traveling golfer standpoint, I'm not going to comment unless you want to mention anything, Jason.
Nope.
Okay. Wild Rock, we're coming into our first course in the Wisconsin Dells area. And for the traveling golfer that does not know what Wisconsin Dells is, it is the water park capital of the world. It is family golf, family fun, not family golf, family fun friendly. It is where you take your kids on vacation. It's also the water park capital of the world. So if there's snow on the ground or the weather isn't great in Wisconsin, you can still play in the water parks. For those traveling golfers that don't want to bounce around with their kids in the lazy river, bring your golf clubs, get over to Wild Rock, some of the more majestic views in the state.
I was hoping Wild Rock would be the next course as you scroll down. I'm thinking to myself, why haven't we seen Wild Rock yet? So it should be the next course on the list. One of the more fun, if I tell everybody, if you like elevated tee boxes to sweeping par fours, Wild Rock is your place. Yeah, it's a great golf course.
Yep, and they have, if you want to, like I said, it's a great place. If you're headed to Wisconsin Dells with family, bring your golf clubs. There's numerous courses to play in the area, Wild Rock being the best. Next two courses, 23 and 24, both private courses. Strawberry Creek, just north of the border. Minocqua is kind of that north woods. Usually on lists, I see Minocqua rated a little bit higher. When I played it recently, because it's so far north, the growing conditions or the grass conditions weren't the best. From a layout standpoint, I put this in as a top 5 course. It's normally rated in the top 5 for private courses. Absolutely outstanding. Oh, and I think we're getting to something that's going to touch home for Jason here on number 25.
The Kauflin family have been members at North Hills for a few years. My daughter played college golf, and when she got back from her freshman year in college, it was like, boy, it'd be so nice to have a nice private club to practice and play at to help you get better. And North Hills is about 7 minutes from our house, and we love it. I'm actually very excited it's this high on the list. It is a relatively flat, pretty simple layout, very traditional country club, but it's a course that anybody that's a member there can say you can enjoy playing it every day. It's a wonderful layout, great greens, again, typical back to front, heavy slopes on many greens, and it's a joy to play. So congratulations, North Hills, to be this high on the list in Wisconsin.
And I'm going to be an interpreter. When he says relatively flat for Wisconsin, that means it's pretty hilly, because I remember
there's one big hill on it. Come on, it goes up and then down a couple times.
Okay, all right. I think of it as an elevated golf course. I think they're doing some renovations, some tree removal, because when I've played it, I'm a little bit more of a sprayer and prayer. So as they take out some trees and widen some of the shots, I'll be excited to play it again. But very deserving of the list, Metro Milwaukee. Number 26, we have a Lake Geneva sighting. It's common golf or common travel destination for those looking to just inch over the border between Illinois and Wisconsin. The Lake Geneva area is certainly the playground for the Chicago and Illinois market. Grand Geneva, the Brute, making its appearance at 26.
Brian, would you put the Brute as the top course in Lake Geneva of all the courses there?
Oh, you know what? So forgive me. So Grand Geneva, that's former Playboy Club, correct?
Former Playboy. So for anybody that doesn't know Grand Geneva, in my opinion, there's seven what I'd call resort courses that are absolutely worth playing. You have the 2 at Grand Geneva, the Brute course and the Highlands course. You have the 3 at Geneva National, the Trevino, the Palmer, and the Trevino, Palmer, and Player. Thank you. And then the Independence, you have Hawksview, the Como Crossings course at Hawksview, and Abbey Springs. I haven't memorized this list. I don't know if all 7 of those are going to fall between number 26 and number 40. So I'm guessing not, but great golf courses. And again, the Lake Geneva area, again, you have 7 courses. You might think automatically, my God, this is the place for us. Look at all those great courses. They're all not the big ticket courses that these other courses are on the list. The only issue I have with Lake Geneva is just cost. It's just a little pricey for what it is because it's such a popular resort town for those coming up from Illinois, plain and simple.
Sure. Yeah, I would put the Brood. I think the Brood is,
I would agree.
Yeah, Hawks View is a client of mine, and I think it is an absolute, great golf course. Some elevated. The conditions are great. I would put Grand Geneva as the best in that. The Player, the Palmer, those courses all kind of blend together for me.
A little bit.
And I haven't played.
Yeah, you have to really play them a lot to know them.
Yeah,
they did some. I got to play the Palmer course recently, and they spend a lot of money on a renovation there to make it a little bit more playable, and it was great. So it's the three at Geneva National. Every time you go down there, you're like, okay, this isn't going to they'll be okay, but they're always better than you expect. And then I'll throw a plug in for Abbey Springs. I think Abbey Springs is as fun as could be. I mean, I think it's a pure Wisconsin facility. I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
and that's going to be one of that should be on this list that isn't. But let's get there first. Horseshoe Bay. If we are in Wisconsin, it's in Door County. Horseshoe Bay used to have access. I think there's some condos there. It used to be a little bit more golf travel friendly. I think if you make a phone call or if you have your pro, you may have access. It is if you're headed to Door County, which is a sleepy little area where everybody goes on their adult vacations to wind and relax and unwind. It is the best course in Door County, and would strongly recommend it. Moving on to 28, another Langford Moreau course with Zaki, the guy, the head pro Rich Tock, who is also out at Erin Hills before he retired. Cut his teeth at Ozaki. He is leading up the Langford Moreau Society. I think Ozaki has some great characteristics. It's good. The last time I played it, it was narrow. I think it's about 3,000 down trees away from being amazing because I see some of those swale bunkers and characteristics of Langford Moreau kind of hidden in some overgrowth. But that's just me. I'm not a tree lover. I trees. They call me Hacksaw Willie whenever it talks about trees and golf courses. But a great golf course, Metro Milwaukee. All right, so back to Lake Geneva National, Arnold Palmer course. I think that is the best course at Geneva National.
No question, and now that we've gotten down into this bottom 10, people will see that we've been unable to not mention probably every other course that you're going to see because of where they're located or how they relate to other courses. So again, number 30, the Bog, which is about halfway between Milwaukee and Sheboygan, the only Arnold Palmer signature course in the state. Wonderful place, holds a lot of events. You and I have a lot of experience with it. And then the next public one, again, I mentioned the Woodlands at Lawsonia. I'm again, the director of golf there hates when I talk about it. I think that the Woodlands might be as good as the Links because of the notoriety that the Links has, but I think that's more of a testament to what the Woodlands offers than my opinion on the Links. And then next on the list, Brian, the next one's private, correct?
Private Westmore. I have family members who are members there. It's fantastic. Metro Milwaukee golf course out in Brookfield. And then this is the first course I haven't played, Lacrosse.
Lacrosse is an awesome course. Played it a couple times. Watched my daughter play it a few times. What a great layout. I'm a little surprised that's not higher, but again, you're talking about a course more in the Minneapolis market than in the Wisconsin market in many ways, but a wonderful place if you ever get a chance to play it. Anybody listening to this, it's a great place.
Okay. Well, Lacrosse, I'm adding you to my bucket list. So I apologize. I didn't turn off my phone here for phone calls.
Why would you turn your phone off during a live podcast?
Oh
Brian?
my gosh, I know. The guy's going to call back another time. I just have to unplug the phone, which is great. Number 34, we just talked about this. Hawks View, Como Crossings is the name of the golf course. The reason why they mentioned that, they have two courses. Barn Hollow, I believe, is the short course there. A fun little track to play, but Como Crossings deserving of the top 40 list.
Yeah,
and
For groups, I do a lot of business at Hawksview if they make their way to Lake Geneva because of that Barn Hollow course. It is a par 3, but it is a full length par 3 course. It is basically taking regular par 3 holes from a regular course and just making 18 of them. So it's an awesome par 3 course.
Sure. And we've talked about the player course at Geneva National running out the 35. Kenosha is private, played the U.S. Hickory Open last year. And there is...
Speak clearly, Brian. We got brutalized at Kenosha during the U.S. Hickory Open.
Donald Ross Golf Course, one of 2 Donald Ross courses in the state. They have some par 3s that have some absolute bite and bark. It is not fun stepping up with hickory clubs that have literally no grooves and trying to hit something equivalent to a 5-iron, 6-iron into something that modern day equipment you'd hit a 9-iron in. There's no stopping, and I made some pretty big numbers on those par 3s. One of my favorite courses, only because I love, besides Langford Monroe, my favorite current designer, although he recently passed away, is Pete Dye, Big Fish. I was so excited to play the course about 5 years ago. Tale of 2 nines, very linksy on the front 9. The back 9 is, more woodland area. The issue with that is in Hayward. Once again, if you are going to be in northern Wisconsin for vacation or coming in from north in Minnesota, this is a must play in Wisconsin.
Definitely, yeah. It's a very fun place. I'd call the top course in what we'd call the upper part of Wisconsin, up in the where all the hunting is done and all that stuff. So
yeah,
had a customer or 2 up there.
Yeah, 38 Tuckaway, former home of the Greater Milwaukee Open, which is going to lead me to a course that may be on this list with Brown Deer. But let's just finish the list, and then we'll wrap up some courses that should be considered, or if we added it, 10 more courses should be on the top 10. Bishop's Bay, you can't really see in this photo, amazing views over Lake Mendota, back to the Capitol. Probably one of the more iconic holes from a private club standpoint. I've played it once. It's been a long time. Beautiful. And then the last course, another course in Wisconsin, Dells, Trapper's Turn. Once again, if you're going to marry water park, or I guess from a local standpoint, a good, affordable golf trip, if you live in Wisconsin or live around the Midwest within maybe a 3-hour drive, is the Wisconsin Dells area. I think from a value standpoint, the courses, have that element of value. There's a casino close by with Ho Chunk. I've done many a boys trips, to the Wisconsin Dells area, and married that with, House on the Rock, not so far away. And the Oaks kind of coming into Madison can be an incredible trip. So
the Oaks is a fun golf course. And to point out again, Trapper's Turn, that says Lake and Canyon. There are 27 holes at Trapper's Turn for those that don't know. So that's just the best combination is those 2 nines. There's also a par 3 course that was opened by Andy North called 12 North, a 12-hole course that's a blast. So again, groups take a huge advantage of that on golf trips for sure.
Sure. So some of the comments, Jason, that we saw that I saw were some courses that are missing on the list, and I think let's just take with some public. We mentioned the Oaks, just outside of Madison. You see it kind of driving out there. I say the Oaks is Indian for windy golf course.